Can you measure exact amounts of liquid using completely unmarked jugs without wasting a single drop? Today, we are putting your brain to the test with 4 escalating measuring puzzles, from easy all the way to impossible. Here comes the first and easiest challenge. We have 3 jugs, a 16-liter jug filled with water, an 11-liter jug, and a 3-liter jug. The goal is to measure exactly 9 liters of water. The rules are simple. There are no markings on the jugs. We cannot spill any water, and the only move allowed is pouring water from one jug into another. So how can we reach exactly 9 liters? Let's find the solution. First, we take the full 16-liter jug and pour water into the 3-liter jug until it is completely filled. Now we move those 3 liters into the empty 11-liter jug. The small jug is empty again, so we repeat the process. We pour another 3 liters from the 16-liter jug into the 3-liter jug, then transfer it into the 11-liter jug. After a few carefully planned moves, the amounts in the jugs begin to shift into the exact combination we need. Next, we fill the 3-liter jug once more from the large jug and pour it into the 11-liter jug. The key moment has arrived. After this final transfer, the 11-liter jug contains exactly 9 liters of water. The puzzle is solved, but that was just the warm-up. Can you handle the next real-world challenges with absolutely zero room for error? A juice maker had just finished preparing a fresh batch of orange juice. After filling his largest container, he wanted to separate exactly 6 liters to create the perfect serving size for a special order. The problem was that his containers had no measurement lines. All he had were 3 jugs, a 13-liter jug filled with orange juice, a 5-liter jug, and a 3-liter jug. He could only pour the juice between the jugs. No guessing, no measuring marks, and no wasting a drop. Could he find the exact amount he needed? Let's see how the puzzle is solved. First, he pours orange juice from the 13-liter jug into the 5-liter jug until it reaches full capacity. Now he transfers the juice from the 5-liter jug into the empty 3-liter jug. This leaves the smaller jug ready for the next move and creates a new balance between the containers. The 3 liters are then poured back into the large 13-liter jug. The amount in the main container increases while the smallest jug becomes empty again. Next, the remaining 2 liters from the 5-liter jug are moved into the empty 3-liter jug. The setup is now almost complete. For the final move, he pours from the 13-liter jug into the empty 5-liter jug. The 5-liter jug fills completely, leaving exactly 6 liters behind in the large jug. The perfect amount has been measured. With a carefully planned sequence of pours, the 6 liters of orange juice are secured. But can you handle the hard challenge? One morning, he wanted to keep exactly 2 liters for himself before giving the rest away. The problem was that he had no measuring tools, only 2 large milk jugs, an 11-liter jug and a 7-liter jug. Neither jug had any marking, so he had to rely only on careful pouring. He could fill a jug, empty a jug, or transfer milk from one jug to the other. Let's begin. First, we completely fill the 7-liter jug. We then pour all of the milk into the empty 11-liter jug. The 7-liter jug is filled again, and we pour it into the 11-liter jug until the larger jug reaches its limit. This leaves 3 liters of milk behind in the smaller jug. Now we empty the 11-liter jug completely, making room for the next transfer. The remaining milk in the 7-liter jug is poured into the empty 11-liter jug. The smaller jug is filled once again. We transfer this milk into the 11-liter jug, continuing the pattern. Because the larger jug already contains milk, only part of the amount can be transferred. The 11-liter jug reaches 10 liters and the smaller jug becomes empty. The 7-liter jug is filled again and poured into the 11-liter jug. Only 1 liter can fit this time, leaving the 11-liter jug full and 6 liters remaining in the smaller jug. The 11-liter jug is emptied once more. The 6 liters are transferred into the empty 11-liter jug. The 7-liter jug is filled one final time. Now we reach the final move. We pour milk from the 7-liter jug into the 11-liter jug. The larger jug only has room for 5 more liters. That means exactly 2 liters remain in the 7-liter jug. The challenge is complete. Using only an 11-liter jug and a 7-liter jug, we measured exactly 2 liters of milk through a carefully planned sequence of fills, pours, and emptying moves. This time, we enter the workshop of the Master Alchemist. Before us are 3 enchanted vessels, a 16-liter flask filled with glowing green essence, an 11-liter flask, and a 6-liter measuring flask. The ancient formula requires exactly 8 liters of essence, but there is a challenge. The flasks have no markings, and not a single drop can be wasted. The only way to succeed is by carefully transferring the essence between the vessels. Let the experiment begin. We begin by pouring 6 liters of essence from the 16-liter flask into the empty 6-liter flask. The first transfer is complete, creating the foundation for the experiment. The 6 liters are now moved into the empty 11-liter flask. With the smaller flask cleared, we can continue the process. Once again, we draw 6 liters from the large flask and transfer them into the 6-liter vessel. The balance between the vessels is beginning to change. Now we pour from the 6-liter flask into the 11-liter flask. Since the larger flask already contains essence, only 5 liters can be accepted, leaving 1 liter behind. The 11-liter flask is then returned to the great 16-liter vessel. This creates a new arrangement and prepares the next phase of the experiment. The remaining 1 liter is transferred into the empty 11-liter flask. Every small measurement brings us closer to unlocking the hidden formula. Next, we pour 6 liters from the 16-liter flask into the empty 6-liter flask. The large vessel continues to shrink as the pattern unfolds. The 6 liters are transferred into the 11-liter flask. The vessels are slowly aligning toward the final result. Another 6 liters are taken from the 16-liter flask and placed into the 6-liter vessel. Now the remaining amount in the large flask moves even closer to our goal. The 6-liter flask is poured into the 11-liter flask. Because the larger flask already contains essence, only 4 liters can be transferred, leaving the exact amount needed for the next moves. The full 11-liter flask is poured back into the 16-liter vessel. The experiment enters its final preparation. The remaining 2 liters are moved from the 6-liter flask into the empty 11-liter flask. The final combination is ready. With one last transfer, we pour 6 liters from the 16-liter flask into the 6-liter flask. The ancient formula has been revealed. The final challenge is complete. If you enjoyed these puzzles, subscribe for more logic challenges, brain teasers, and creative measuring riddles.